You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly Requa, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. Bark and Wag is dedicated to protecting our dogs through advocacy, education, and supporting like-minded dog lovers by selling custom pet products, saving lives by selling collars, scrunchies, and swag. Please check out Bark and Wag's website, barkandwag.com. That's BARKNWAG.com to see the awesome merchandise. Bark and Wag collars and leashes, collar covers, and decorative bandanas are perfect for your pooch. For the owner of the house, we have t-shirts, sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts, hats, and even coasters. We are expanding monthly, so be sure to check back. We love pooch ideas for podcasts and merchandise too, so send an email to polly@barkandwag.com with your suggestions.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly Requa. Today we're talking to Steve, professional leadership trainer at the Doghouse in Breckenridge. Welcome, Steve.
Hey, thank you for having me, Polly.
Thank you for coming back. After we had the podcast regarding the shy dogs, I did receive an email on the website, barkandwag.com, about how do you work with aggressive dogs using leadership training.
So, aggressive dogs, that's, majority of what I get phone calls on, because we do, in the shelters, we do have a lot of pit bulls. So that really, it's something that, number one, you have to be prepared for. If you're going to adopt a strong-willed dog, know what you're getting into first off. But if you've already gone down that road, you love this dog, and they're a very aggressive dog, we need to make sure that we're taking things appropriately and sending a message that we're the leader and that you're not to act aggressive or inappropriately. So ways we would do that is obviously don't have them on the bed. Make sure that you're in control of every aspect of their life. A perfect example is a lot of younger people want to play tug of war or, wrestle with their dog. And that is fine if you want to play those games with your dog, but you have to make sure that the outcome is that you win. So to give you an example, we're sitting here playing tug of war with our dog, and then our phone rings, we let go of that toy, and we start talking on the phone. The dog's mind, they're thinking, I thought that was the leader, but I just took that toy away from that person. Maybe I'm stronger. So now we're feeding into that behavior.
Interesting. And, the same question I asked you with the shy dog, how do you define an aggressive dog? What, like when you think of aggressive, you're thinking of some German Shepherd police dog going after a dummy. But really, what defines an aggressive dog? One that you can't take off leash or...
So a lot of times with aggression, aggression can be mislabeled as fear, which is still obviously fear aggression. But there's, it's kind of a sliding scale. You have your absolute red dogs who are just like, if they get a hold of another dog, they're going to grab them and shake them. That would be the classic definition of really an aggressive dog, would be one that goes in for the bite, for the kill. And that's really where you get to, we're close to not being able to correct that behavior. But an aggressive dog, it comes in all forms. You have fear aggression, you have, which is also a shy dog, up to the red dog, which again is attacking humans and or other dogs. So
let's just take, for example, Maddie, which you've worked with her before. So sometimes when, let's say we've opened the door and I'm going to put her in the car, and there might be a dog walking on the sidewalk on the other side of the street, she will sometimes run after the dog and get to the end of the driveway and stop. And, and you're not quite sure what she's going to do if she goes over and meets the dog.
Right. And generally
is that aggressive?
That would be, without seeing it, I couldn't tell you, but that would be more territorial. She's just kind of protecting her home, which in a little bit of aggressive there. I know Maddie personally, so I would say not really. She's more just, hey, look at that dog. Look, check it out. Check it out. More alerting than being aggressive.
Yeah, but if you're the dog, if you're on the other side of the street, I'd be scared.
Oh, absolutely. Because now that dog, that's, a big flag going up for them going, hey, this dog's charging at me.
Yeah.
So now, it does escalate quickly. Just like you see, like when we're here, in the daycare, all the staff is trained to recognize that when dogs are playing very rough, that play turns to aggression very quickly. It's like walking on a tightrope. 1 minute they're best friends playing, next minute they're trying to fight each other. So aggression comes in many shapes and colors for sure.
And can you desensitize an aggressive dog?
You can, but it is obviously a lot more work. It is sending the message that they can trust you to handle these threats. So in other words, in Maddie's situation, charging out of the house and, running towards a dog that's across the street, I would tether a dog to my waist for, months at a time and have them responding to me. And when we come up to another dog, have them sit and I step out front of the dog and greet the dog that's coming towards us. Mm-hmm. So that way, in your dog's mind, they're like, oh, my owner addresses any perceived threats that I have, so it must not be an issue because I can trust them to take care of the situation.
And what about when you have a new dog that's coming to the doghouse for the day for doggy daycare? How do you decide if a dog is aggressive or not?
So, we really question the owner first and foremost. Looking at a dog coming in, if I see scratches on their face or evidence of any past fights, if their hackles are up when they come in, that's pretty telltale that they're already on guard. They're already, thinking aggressively. So, what we do is kind of screen them, see their behavior. And then we have our dogs here also that are on the way through to the daycare that I have them on a leash. If they all of a sudden start lunging and biting at one of our dogs, well, they're not going to play. But, hackles up, obviously the classic signs, hackles up, whiskers forward, whale eye, which means their eye gets really big and you can see the white of their eye. Those are all classic signs of aggression.
Interesting. And then, obviously then they're not invited, right?
Correct. We can accommodate, but no, not for daycare. They would just be strictly here to, kennel.
Okay. Well, thank you. Do you have any more tips?
If you have an aggressive dog, don't really let it go. You really need to resolve that behavior pretty quickly. You're not doing a dog any favor that's aggressive by having them up on the bed with you or letting them run off leash freely. You got to take away their freedoms and you got to set boundaries with an aggressive dog. I have a year-old German Shepherd that I recently adopted that had aggression issues, and we're beyond that now. For the past month, I've had him hooked to my side. He has no more than about 6 inches of leash off of my waist. And anytime we approach something, I tell him on by, and we just keep trucking. We don't even look at anything. He's not allowed to stop and sniff. And now, no problem at all. No aggression issues at all. And it's not that black and white, obviously. There is more detail to it. But, if you have an aggressive dog, I would research getting a trainer that specializes in aggressive issues, somebody more like a behavioralist, because you're really not going to resolve those issues, by just handing treats out, obviously.
And what was the command?
So I say on by, just mean go on by. Keep trucking.
And then the tether to your body, what happens if Maddie weighs 99 pounds. So
right.
If she actually took off, it'd be, you could break your hip.
It could be a little bit of a struggle. Yep. And there are tools to use. I use a martingale collar, which keeps him from pulling. It tightens down. It's not a choker. It doesn't squeeze his neck. It closes to a certain extent. And again, like I had explained in the previous podcast, Neck is a big social area for a dog. It sends a big message, neck and nose. So, a lot of times you can get a dog's attention by popping them on the nose. Not hard, obviously. We're not winding up and slapping their nose, but right on the tip of the nose, give them a little tap. That snaps them into the moment, because dogs obviously have ADD, much like myself. So you give them a little tap on the nose, and now they're going to pay attention to you, or a couple fingers to the neck. But a martingale collar, it pulls them and it lets them know, hey, look at me. Also, talk to your dog in single word commands. Give them lots of commands. Just make sure we're just giving them single word commands. That way they can get it.
Okay, interesting. Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast, and we look forward to having you back.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.